Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hello everyone, and welcome to Work in Progress, the Personal Productivity Science Insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I am your host, Joanna. Let's get started.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. In today's episode, we will be exploring mindfulness and compassion and how these two work together in a dual approach to improve our overall well-being and personal productivity. While some people may view mindfulness as quite challenging or even as a waste of time, it could ultimately lead to a more productive lifestyle. To guide us in this topic today is Professor Bassam Khoury. Bassam is an associate professor in the Department of Educational and Counselling Psychology at McGill University, and he heads the McGill Mindfulness Research Lab, where he and his team conduct research to advance the theory, research, and applications of mindfulness and compassion. The global aim of the research is to create a deep, lasting change in individuals and societies by promoting new ways of interacting with oneself, others, and the natural environment, including animals, through the practices of mindfulness and compassion. Professor Khoury has published numerous papers on mindfulness and compassion in leading journals in the fields of clinical psychology and physical and medical health. His work includes 77 journal articles and 9 book chapters, and he has gained international recognition and has been cited over 8,500 times. Bassam has also been recognized with multiple awards, including the Association of Psychological Science Emerging Scholars Rising Stars Award and the William Dawson Scholars Award. So with this wealth of knowledge, I'm certainly excited to get started. Hi, Bassam. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
Oh, of course. So my first question to introduce you and the topic today is, what led you to pursue your studies in psychology and mindfulness?
Yes, this is kind of a special story because I didn't start actually in psychology. My first degree was in engineering. And
Wow.
I worked as engineer. I was doing software development. I worked in many companies, small, big, medium. And at some point, I was not happy. I mean, at many points across the time I was working as engineer, I wasn't fulfilled or happy. And at one time, I went to see a psychologist. And this was an important moment as I was seeing someone and I felt what she was doing actually is something I like to do. So I had this kind of insight that at the same time, what I was doing was not fulfilling. And seeing her working with me inspired me to do such work. And then I started to see what in the past, and it's a huge difference between engineering and studying psychology. So this led me to do a undergrad, grad degree. And along these moments, when I was in my undergrad, I heard about His Holiness the Dalai Lama coming to Washington, D.C. at that moment and having a conversation with scientists, Western scientists. I wasn't sure about exactly what was about, and I went as I was curious about. And I was exposed to meditation and how it has impact and how is also can be studied in Western science. And at that point, I was starting to be more and more interested in mindfulness and meditation practice. I started to practice bit by bit until I built a daily practice of meditation. And then everything was logical to continue in that direction in my graduate studies, in my clinical practice, and today in my research. So I would say mindfulness is not something I do, but it's a main element of all my personal life, my professional life, my research, my clinical practice, my teaching even. It's extremely essential to my life.
Wow. That's so interesting. That's such an interesting path that you've taken, and that mindfulness has become such a big part of your life. That's a great way to introduce what we're going to talk about as well. So before we dive in, we'd like to get to know you a little bit better. So my first question is, what do you like to do in your spare time?
I mean, I like many things. Certainly meditating, but I don't know if I consider the spare time because meditation is something important every day. I do. I
Yeah.
like walking with my dog when I can. So I try to do a couple of times, at least 3 times a week. That's something I like. I sometimes just watch like TV or Netflix or something that is interesting. I like also reading when I have the time. I used to read more, I think, uh, as I'm doing research, I get more exposed to articles and I have less time to read other things. I like also
Mm,
massaging. Actually, between jumping from engineering to clinical psychology, I had like a bit of a bridge in terms also of financial needs. So I did a certificate in Swedish massage therapy, and I worked in
wow.
many spas part time, never full time. So I'd still like to exchange massages, and it's still a part that I like. So
Wow.
that's basically it. Yeah,
That's really interesting. You mentioned reading there. Is there a book or a movie
yeah.
that you've enjoyed recently?
I would say books every maybe time or episode in my life. There are books that inspired me. Let's say a long time ago, when I was studying engineering, I remember reading this book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People from, I think, Stephen Covey. So this is I think, very old book. We are talking maybe 30 years ago or 40 years ago. And it inspired me at that time. Then when I
Mm,
started interest in psychology, I remember reading, what was called, a book by David Bars. um,
yeah,
I forget the name of the book, but also it
that's okay.
inspired me. So it depends of, I think, the time in my life and which book will interest me. So
Yeah,
that's
of
a bit
course.
about it.
And do you have a role model or an inspiration, either professionally or personally, that you could share with us?
I would not maybe say a specific person versus qualities I think I admire in people. I
Mm,
admire when people are innovative, creative,
absolutely.
unusual. So
Yeah.
I can admire qualities like that in people, from historical people. I would say qualities of Buddha. Certainly, I admire more presently qualities in His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I admire work of John Kabat-Zinn, who brought mindfulness to the West. So there's a lot of things I admire about him. I was reading things that Rumi, the Persian philosopher, wrote, and there are a lot of things that kind of join mindfulness, and I have a lot of admiration for that. So it depends. I will not say a specific object or specific even person, but qualities that I find
Mm,
inspiring.
absolutely. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. And is there a class or a course that you've taken, or maybe even that you've taught, that has stuck with you and really inspired you at all?
So class that stuck with me, actually, it was the first class I took in psychology. Because
Mm,
when I was doing the shift, I was saying between engineering and psychology, I didn't go directly to be a part of psychology program. So I did some what we call independent courses just to test if first, I mean, I can study again because it has been a while. I was outside the school. Second was I would get good grades because again in the program
mm,
of psychology they know if you want to go to grad degree you need to have very high grades. So I took this what called introduction to psychology, and it was inspiring for me. Even today it might seem nothing, but at that moment, as I never took a class in psychology, it was my first time. I'm sitting there and I'm listening to that, and I'm seeing the people who are interacting with the material. It really inspired me. It has a huge impact, and I knew that what I want to pursue. It made it like definitive. This is what I'm pursuing.
Yeah. No, I definitely had a similar experience at university with a philosophy professor in the very first
Ah,
class.
that's
Yeah.
interesting.
He was really funny, but he just made that class so engaging. It was, yeah, I totally know what you're saying there. So let's dive right into our topic for today. So, first of all, we'll get the basics down. What is your definition of self compassion?
Yeah, and that's a complex topic. There are many definitions. I think it's extremely important to note. For example, Neff define self-compassion in terms of kindness, in terms of awareness first. Like, so there's some mindfulness in her definition. Like you need to be aware of your own suffering, and to be kind toward yourself, and to have this what she calls common humanity. So meaning all people suffer. So I suffer, but I'm not alone, as everybody is suffering. And I respect her definition. In our work, in my work in the lab, we tried a bit to change the definition, not out of disrespect of Kristen Neff, because she did great work on self-compassion, but because we wanted to integrate it better in what we call cognitive behavior interventions. So we've chosen a definition that is more, there's a cognitive part, there's emotional part, there's behavioral part. So the cognitive part is how you think about yourself, whether you are self-judgmental, harsh, saying I'm stupid. Certainly, this is not self-compassionate way of thinking. So the way you think about you, about your actions, about your mistakes, which all we do a lot of mistakes. Would you be kind, accepting these mistakes, or starting to judge these mistakes? Would you learn from the mistakes and grow, or saying, "Oh my God, that was horrible. I cannot take it." So how you think about moments of difficulties. Second thing is how you feel towards yourself. And as I'm a clinical psychologist, I have many people coming to me and say, "I hate myself." As sad as it is, it's common people to tell me, "I hate myself," and it's very loaded. Yeah, it's extremely loaded statement. I
Yeah.
don't like anything about myself. This is another one. I ask them, what do you hate? Everything. Not like one, everything. So these are extremely difficult. So if the feeling towards yourself is hate and dislike, and there's nothing to like about it, it's very difficult to have self-compassion. So it's changing
Mm.
this negative feeling to a positive of love, actually. The third part is behavior, which is the easiest, actually. Meaning what you would do to take care of yourself. So it can be little things as taking a bath, uh, having a walk, eating maybe something that you like, listening to a piece of music that you love, like doing little things for yourself, nothing big necessary. So the actions, specifically when you are suffering, let's say you had a difficult day, you didn't succeed on an exam, let's say. You come home. Do you take action to take off yourself, or say, I need to punish myself? And some people will go the other way. Let me
Mm.
not eat tonight because I didn't do well. Or would you say, I've had a difficult day today. Let me take time to take care of myself. Let me take a bath. Let me listen to music. Let me take maybe the best cover I have just to feel good in. So these are action. And the fourth component we add also the interpersonal side, because it's important in self-compassion, meaning accepting care and help from others. As people sometimes when they suffer, they do not want or they reject any help, any support, any kindness from others. So that's our definition. It's like how you think, how you feel, how you act towards yourself, and how you accept or interact with others to help yourself.
Mm. That's a really interesting definition. I feel like a lot of people hear the word compassion or self compassion and they sort of know what it means, but that's so many different parts to it. Thank you for sharing. My next question for you is, what is your definition of mindfulness?
Mindfulness is another thing that also has, I mean, this is one that has so many definitions. And I wrote papers about showing multiple definitions of mindfulness. Among them, one extremely known is the five facets. So we talk about observing, describing, not reacting, not judging, accepting, and again, it extends definition and has a lot of merit. Now, in the work in our lab, also we wanted to have another definition, not because the previous definition were bad, but because we wanted to tackle another angle, and in particular, the body. As in the paper, we try to review all these definitions, and all of them are good. I'm not saying they are not good, but they do not focus as much on the body. There's a bit of the body, but there's not of the mind. Observing, describing, for example, not reacting, accepting, not judging. Again, excellent. But when you go to the item, when you go to the how it is done, you see the body is not as important. It's there, but as not central. So what our definition was embodied mindfulness. Actually, we said we are going and put the body and make it as clear as possible that we are not only talking about mindfulness in the mind terms, but in the body terms. So we call it embodied mindfulness, and then it has the first element is detaching of thinking, because to be in the body you need to not stop. People think you need to stop thinking. Nobody can stop thinking, but you detach from it, take a distance, not being caught in it, not being trapped in your mind. So that's the first dimension. It has multiple dimensions. Second dimension is noticing and being aware of feelings, sensations, what's happening inside you in the present moment. So also it goes back to the body, specifically physical sensation and body sensation. Noticing, being aware of these sensations as they come, as they change also across time. Third part is connecting to the body. So from noticing these sensations, acknowledging their presence, seeing these body sensations, connecting, meaning staying within the body. So the difference is in the connecting to the body, you need time to maintain this attention on the body. You're sustaining, or you're putting this attention on the body in a sustained way. The fourth part now is noticing the connection between the mind and the body, and it's bidirectional. So the body towards the mind and the mind towards the body. So noticing that what you feel and what you think are not disconnected. What you think versus what you feel are also not disconnected. Of what you sense in your body, everything is connected. And the last one is accepting, which also resembles a bit the other definition, accepting these feeling, body sensation, not fighting them, not rejecting them, not saying, oh I should not have these, but being with them, accepting them, embracing them. So that's our definition. Again, it focuses a lot, almost all the items, or majority of them, are body-based items.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, a lot of people think of mindfulness as just like sitting down and being like in your mind and disconnecting with your thoughts. But there's so many mindfulness practices as well that are about feeling where you're sitting and feeling what you feel in your body. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So what would your definition be then of well-being?
Yeah, and that's a concept that is extremely complex by itself. And I didn't define well-being. As a researcher, I defined it, or I worked on a new definition of compassion, self-compassion, compassion towards others, mindfulness, interpersonal mindfulness, but not on well-being. So there are multiple definitions of well-being, depending of the way you approach it, depending if you focus on, for example, physical health or mental health, or you focus on happiness or pleasure. Well-being, in my opinion, is a state of being content in the ways that we see it maybe, and in a Buddhist perspective, is a state of being content, a state of growth also. So it's not well-being just I'm not sad or depressed or anxious, but I'm content and I'm putting myself in a space where I can grow. And well-being is not only interpersonal. It's not like inside me I have a well-being. I don't believe there is a well-being inside you only. There is a well-being with the connection to outside, this interconnection with others. And others can be humans first, which is important because we live with other humans, but also can be nature and animals. So how we connect with ourselves, between the mind and the body we're talking, but how we connect with other people, how we connect with nature, how we connect with animals, how we connect with the reality around us. So all these belongs to well-being. It's not like I'm just feeling good. The book name actually is Feeling Good from David Buss.
Oh, there
I
you
got
go.
it now. Now my mind remembered. It's feeling good. So it's not about only feeling good inside. And I don't believe also we can feel good inside if I'm disconnected from others. It's unsustainable well-being.
Mm,
You might take some substance and you feel good, but it's unsustainable. It's sustainable when it's connected to outside you, bigger than you. That's a
yeah.
more sustainable well-being.
Yeah. You can't maintain that well-being if you're not connecting with things outside of you that are impacting on you. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
impossible.
We have a lot of definitions in our questions today because they pertain to what we're
Yeah.
going to talk about later. My next one for you is, how would you define personal productivity?
And again, that's a concept that can have multiple definitions. I didn't also in my research define productivity. And I think there are multiple definitions. Let's say a bank might define productivity in terms of how much money they make. Or if they want to define a employee personal productivity, how much transactions they made, how many customers they maybe served, how many reports they wrote, or how many Excel sheets he finished. So certainly someone who has some objective, financial or otherwise, will define productivity in terms of their objectives. Now, if we go a bit to more deep psychological human being productivity, in my opinion, it should be defined on what you want to attain and not what society value or what your employers want to do or what somebody else tell you. This is important. So produce more to be good. It's what has meaning for you. So personal productivity, I would define it what has meaning for me and what will facilitate to achieve that. Uh, um, so if meaning for me coming from serving others, productivity is about serving others and how I can serve others, how I can enhance, for example, serving others. And
Wow.
it should not be defined in terms of society needs because that's where people start to burning out.
Yeah.
If your boss saying you need to be more productive and you don't find meaning of what you are doing, there is high risk that you start to feel burned out because you feel I need to do more because my boss is telling me I need to do more. And society is telling you need to do more, but what I'm doing has no meaning. So how I can do more in something that doesn't make sense to me? It's extremely difficult. And most likely you end up depressed and anxious and stressed.
Mm. Do you find that people are less likely to burn out if they have real meaning and real value in their work, for example?
I totally agree. And I think research would show that people, if they find meaning of what they are doing, even if it's difficult, even if it's demanding, psychologically, emotionally, or physically, if they find meaning, they most likely are much more protected emotionally, physically, mentally from the impact on them versus if they are doing something they dislike, they don't find meaning in it, but they need to do it because it is how they get paid or because the boss would praise them if they did all that job. uh, they are very much subject to burnout, stress, anxiety,
Mm.
depression.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that we've defined those terms for our conversation today, how would you describe the relationship between self-compassion, mindfulness, and productivity?
And now the relationship is complex because first let's look at self-compassion and mindfulness. There are common elements. And I was talking about Kristen Neff's definition, which includes some element of mindfulness, awareness in self-compassion. We try to put the concept as different in terms of definitions. However, in terms of practices that are connected. In a way, if I'm practicing, let's say, mindfulness, meaning awareness of what's going inside me and being connected to my body, for example. But then let's say negative things come, past experiences or even current experiences. Maybe I did bad on exam, Or maybe I said something hurtful to a person I love. So it might come in meditation or in these practices you are aware, meaning logically anything might come to surface. If you are not defending yourself, if you are not trying to put it aside, things will come. Now, how you react to it? If you start saying, oh, I did that, that's bad, that's horrible. First, it stops your practice of mindfulness. Second, it makes you feel even worse after the practice. Then self-compassion comes. Say, yeah, maybe I said something hurtful to this person I love. I'm aware of it. I don't need to punish myself. I need to recognize it. Doesn't mean also I say it's good, let me do it again. No, but I need to recognize it, not use punishment as a way, but use the love as a way to make myself grow and to repair this relationship. So the answer to moments that are difficult in practice of mindfulness or awareness is self-compassion. And if you don't have that, there's high risk that you stop your practice or even you have negative consequences of your practice. So extremely important is are linked. And in self-compassion, you need some awareness, because to be self-compassionate, you need to be aware of your body. You need to be aware of what's going on inside you. If you are not aware, it's hard to know even if you are suffering or not. So there are bidirectional connection between at least practices of self-compassion and mindfulness. Now, if you add productivity, or again, I would name it like things you want to attain. Let's say you want to do a project. It has meaning for you. It's important. But now many things might happen between wanting or aiming towards something and doing it. Among them, negative emotions. Very common. Let's say, I want to write this paper. It's extremely very interesting. I think it has importance for people. I think it might it might help others. It might inspire people. But now I want to start writing it. I start to feel anxious. Maybe I don't know how to go there. I'm not sure it will be enough good. I start judging myself. Or maybe I don't have it. Maybe I should not do that. It will be horrible. People will laugh at me. I think I'm joke. So I start to have these negative thoughts, negative emotions inside me. And then most likely, if I keep inside them, if I keep trapped in negative thoughts, and these emotions are so much powerful, there's less likely I will go and do the paper. I most likely go do something else, go on the internet, go on social media, maybe have something to eat, do anything else than doing what I wanted to do, because I'm feeling a lot of negative emotions and I'm bombarded by this judgment. So here I think practices of mindfulness, this awareness of the sensation, accepting them, being with them, saying, yes, I'm anxious. It's okay. Can I be with the anxiety? Can I feel it? Can I just breathe with it? It will diminish this anxiety. Then it's easier to go and do whatever you need to do. And if you're a bit strained from this self-judgment, from this negative thinking, and you feel good about yourself, you nurture yourself, you put yourself in a better position to succeed in whatever you wanted to do. So both these practices of self-compassion and mindfulness will help the person actually moving towards their goals, because it allows you to regulate some of these negative emotions and a bit to diminish the impact of negative thoughts, judgment, self-loathing on what you want to do. Because at that moment, you are more kind of trapped in the past, versus when now you want to move in the moment towards something you want to do. But if I'm trapped in the past, extremely hard to kind of make this movement from this constant mind thinking to something that I can achieve in the present moment.
Absolutely. No, that's really interesting. Being trapped in those negative thoughts, it's hard to get out of them, and you just want to do anything that's easier and just procrastinate your task. Yeah.
Yeah, that's procrastination actually is based on escaping these negative feelings,
Yeah.
thoughts, state of being. So I want to escape. So what is escape? It's easy. Social media, doing something else, eating, anything else can help you escape.
So my next question for you is, in this case, what are the key benefits to adopting this dual approach of compromising both mindfulness and self-compassion to improve your own productivity and well-being?
Yeah, as I was almost describing, the benefit of combining self-compassion and mindfulness is to help each other in terms of practice specifically. As if I'm going to practice mindfulness alone, and I have difficulty in my past, I have trauma, for example, or specific souvenirs come to me, or specific difficulties come to me, and I didn't cultivate the self-compassion, I will have again difficulty in my practice. So it will kind of retain me from the practice of mindfulness. Uh, so self-compassion can a bit contain negative emotions and allow me to sustain my practice. And as we were saying, both can help in terms of cultivating a better state of mind to work on objectives that matter to me. Because it's easy for me to not judge, not to be caught in this negative thinking. And it's easier for me also to be present in my body. Because let's say I'm working on something and I'm so much also distracted. So that's so much distracting me with thoughts, with souvenirs. I can be sitting on my computer the whole day also. And I did sometimes. And what we name it as productivity or outcome is null. Not because I didn't spend time doing that, because I'm not there. I'm on my computer, but I'm thinking about something else. I'm in my mind, or I'm procrastinating a bit. I'm not concentrated. And we can talk about practices. Among the practices is concentration. So I'm not focused. So I can spend 6 hours and do work of 10 minutes. So am I productive? I think if anybody measures that, will say, no, you are not. You said 6 hours, good for you, but you didn't produce anything. And you can sit half an hour and do much more than 6 hours. So maybe sit less and be more productive. So again, is a quality and amount of work is not most of the time dependent of the time you spend, actually. Is dependent of the quality of your concentration, your focus, clarity of the mind, and also some emotion regulation in a way that you are not overwhelmed by negative emotion. You are not judging yourself all the time. You are not have this kind of harsh judgment, because let's say you are writing. Let's say you are a creative writer and you want to write a novel. Nice. So there is a part that is anxiety provoking, because you have to get into the space of creativity where mindfulness can help you kind of calm these emotions by being with them, by accepting them. And there is also negative judgment about, oh my God, am I maybe not good? I should not do that. This is horrible. What I'm writing is so bad. I should stop. What will make you stop if you don't have the self-compassion cultivation that, yeah, it's okay. Maybe the first time I'm writing that, maybe it won't be great. It's okay. I will have time to go back to it. But now I'm just accepting that I'm letting my creativity exist. And it's not perfect, certainly. It's way perfect. But if I let it be, I will have the chance to improve on that. But if I stop it by being so much harsh on myself, there is no way. I don't give myself a way to improve on myself. So at the end, there's no productivity. I said there, I'm caught in negative emotions and I'm caught in this judgment and I'm not writing anything. It's like what is called white page or blank page. For 6 hours, I'm sitting there's nothing. So there's no productivity at all.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's very interesting that you have to have self-compassion to give yourself the chance to be productive and to give yourself the chance to improve. That makes sense.
And to make mistakes.
Yes, absolutely.
That's extremely important.
Yeah. So what would you say are some of the most important factors to consider if somebody is attempting to practice both mindfulness and self-compassion?
There are multiple factors. First, it's important to set intentions. What I'm practicing, what I'm practicing. And it's important. Why? Because intentions, in Western psychology, we call it goals or objectives. I use the word intention, it comes from Buddhism. Buddhist practice, they call intentions versus objectives or goals. So, what I want from this practice, what are my aims, what I'm looking for, what benefits, and I will focus less on benefit, but I will focus on what things I want kind to overcome. If there is anxiety in me, if there is difficulty in me, what I want to overcome. Do I want also that my practice benefit others? And we didn't talk a lot about others, but others are important also. If I'm practicing mindfulness, do I want my practice to? Is it my intention to have a better relationship with someone I love? Can be your partner, can be your parent, can be your child, can be your friend. So do I want that practice help me to listen more to other people, to be present with other people? So what are my intentions? In self
Absolutely.
compassion, what are my intentions also? What I want to build in myself? What kind of ways of being I want, and how these ways of being might also impact other people around me. Because we can look at self-compassion as only it's me, but it's always me with the other. So how I want that these practices help me also to in my interaction with others. Setting these intentions are extremely important in the practice.
Okay.
And then finding different ways of practicing. There are different ways, we can talk about them. What is the way that works for me? Because what works for me doesn't mean it works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the case of if somebody has maybe been practicing mindfulness for a while, I've got a question here for you. So, a recent study examined the impact of insight dialogue retreats on mindfulness, self compassion, and psychological well being. So, in your professional opinion, what kind of individuals would benefit the most from these more intensive interventions?
Yes, there are two things in the question. There's the inside dialogue, which is an excellent intervention, though, because it's extremely based on the roots of mindfulness, which are Buddhist roots. So inside dialogue, you are not only practicing this internal mindfulness, but you are aware of your sensation, your emotion, but also you are aware of the other person, listening with open heart, listening deeply, non-judgmentally to the other person. So there's a lot of dialogue as it's named in terms of you with the other person. So in terms of practice, it's a very deep and important practice. It has ethical value. It has interpersonal values. Now there's the other part also is retreat, the word retreat, which is good, but it's not for all people. While retreat means it's intensive. A retreat it at least 3 days, and I've seen the inside dialogue. Most of the times they recommend about 1 week. 1 week, it seems nothing. It's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot if you are in a place like a retreat. I don't know if you went to a retreat, but a retreat and they describe it in the paper like you wake up very early in the morning. It's the whole day. It's not like you are doing it 2 hours and then you are having fun outside. It's not that day.
No.
So it's all the day practicing, whether internal, meaning your own meditation, whether working with other people. It's extremely demanding. I'm clinical psychologist. Listening to other people when I do it like 5 or 6 hours in a day, even though it has been a long time, I feel at the end that I'm drained. I need time to relax. So if you are somebody who never did that and you're going to this retreat and you have to work on yourself, which is excellent, by meditating, by observing your breath, by accepting these emotions, and working on your interpersonal relationship and hearing other people and listening to them deeply and being mindful and being compassionate. So it requires a large amount of internal resources, cognitively, emotionally, psychologically, attention-wise. So I think it's excellent. Again, but it's not for all people. That I think what is most important was we were asking, because I think somebody who, let's say, is in a bad place or highly stressed, does not have as much resources emotionally, maybe, or psychologically, or even burned out, say, I'm going to this retreat to kind of feel better. It might not be the best place for them, because it might be too much, especially if someone didn't practice meditation before, or they have
Mm.
maybe 5 minutes a day, then I'll be asked to be hours meditating.
Mm.
This is extremely demanding, because they don't know what that means. They don't know what is sitting there for 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. What does that mean? It's extremely demanding. So I think it cannot be recommended to anyone. You need to have previous experience in meditation, and a solid experience, meaning not like 5-10 minutes a day, like way more than that. Second, you need to be in a space in your life that you might have some stress, but you are not all over the place, that you are burned out, and you cannot even listen to yourself, that you cannot listen to other people. So if you are in a good spot, you have good practice of meditation on a daily basis, and you want to grow on a personal and interpersonal level, I think this will be an excellent place to be.
Mm.
But you have all
Absolutely.
these conditions to be met before.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everyone. So let's take the example of, let's say somebody attends one of these retreats and they really enjoy it and it's really good for them. What would your advice be for then coming out of that and applying what they learned there into everyday life with consistency?
Yeah, and that's another challenge, is how you kind of bring these skills or practices in an intense period to daily life. And the other book that I didn't mention that I've read more recently is from Jack Cornford, After Ecstasy is Laundry. So he described, he studied in Buddhism. He is a clinical psychologist and went in Asia and been in retreats and meditated for a long time and became a monk, and then came back to the West and said that sometimes it was easier for him to be in this daily meditation where it was very intense in these retreats, than coming back to the West and having to deal with family and issues on a daily basis of after ecstasy is laundry, meaning now you have to clean and do laundry and do stuff at home, and how you integrate these practices now. So there's a challenge. You might come very well from a meditation retreat and very peaceful. Now you come back and your neighbor is yelling at you, or your boss is saying something you hate, or your partner is saying, "Oh my God, it's all about you. You don't care about anyone." Like you get these kind of strong negative feelings and messages. Now you have to work on these practices you have learned there to use them in your daily life. It's not easy. I think the basic thing, you need to certainly continue meditating on a daily basis. Because if you imagine that I did this retreat, it was very good. Now I can use it in every single situation. You might discover no. You might discover that again, people challenge you, situations challenge you, negative emotion come back, whether it's sadness or anxiety or anger or even hatred. So meaning you need to continue practicing and accepting that even though you felt extremely peaceful in that moment, that there are moments when you are confronted with someone, you might feel the opposite feeling, up to hate. Doesn't mean you cultivate that feeling, but doesn't mean if you felt so peaceful in a retreat that it always your life will be peaceful. If it is the case, like everybody will have peace forever. So it's a continuous practice on a daily basis. And accepting there are moments that you go back to the old habits of the mind. The old habits of the mind, having greed, having hatred, having repulsions, having wanting stuff. So these are habits of the mind. And it's not surprised that you will go back to these habits. And you have to continue cultivating the other habits, the gratitude, the presence, the compassion towards you, towards others. So it's a moment then you can learn things, but to continue doing it, you need to practice on a daily basis, day after day and moment after moment.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us perfectly onto our next section about the practices. So, what is a habit that you would recommend practicing to strengthen both mindfulness and compassion?
Yeah, people always ask me when they come to see me in therapy, what should I do? Should I practice? How much time? When? How?
Mm,
All these questions. They are normal questions. Again, as we said, you start by setting objective, setting intention. Why I want to practice? Now, why I'm doing that? Is it because somebody asked me to do it? Is it because my psychologist told me it's good for me? Or my partner told me go and practice, or somebody else said me maybe it's good for you? Why I'm doing that? That is the first question. Second
mhm.
question, how I will do it, how much I can do it, meaning you have to see what are my circumstances, what time is good for me. Let's say if you are a single parent with two kids, you have to consider the context. You need times that you are a bit kind, peaceful or alone, or have some quiet time. So it might be depending when the kids go to daycare. So you have to look at your context and see what is a time that is good for you, that allows you to have the space for you. And then the duration, it will depend also. Do I need to start by 5 minutes or 15 minutes or 10 minutes? I say to people, it depends of where are you, and you can try wherever it is. And it's okay to start with 3 minutes. If 5 minutes is too much, it's okay. As long as you start to build the habit. What it is building a habit, meaning doing it every day, day after day. Not one day off, one day every day. And ideally, if it's possible, the same time of the day, meaning let's say I wake up, I shower, and I meditate. Try to do it the same, with the same kind of routine, so it become part of who you are. And then you can increase time. It's always there's a possibility to increase time. But if there is no habit, and let's say you practice for 40 minutes, but once in a week, it's not bad, but it's not as much profound, because next week might say, oh, maybe not. It doesn't build a habit. It's something you are doing from time to time as other things, but it didn't become part of who you are. And that takes time to become as something I do because this is a space for me to be, to exist, to take care of myself emotionally, otherwise, to be present, to take care of my relationships. And there are different practices of mindfulness and self compassion in terms of meditation or otherwise. There are multiple practices.
Mm, absolutely. And so, what challenges do people generally face when they try and implement this practice?
And multiple challenges. Most people would say, for example, I wanted to do it. I have many people in clinic them.
Mm,
I really, but then I stay on my phone. I have one person. I stay on my phone so much time, and like 1 hour, an hour and a half, I wake up, phone. Time is running. People might find it difficult just to stay at the attention part. There's attention, specifically if you are doing the practice of what we call shamatha or focused attention practice, which is normally at the beginning of meditating, you try to gather your attention on a single point. For example, we're breathing in and breathing out. So some people might find it difficult just to gather this attention. Some people find it boring. I'm sitting there's nothing. As I expect, like, they will have some kind of, I don't know, show. No, there is
mm,
no show. Sorry, but there is no show. It's not
yeah.
entertainment. Like, it's not like somebody will come and dance when you are meditating. You're sitting and there's nothing. So many people find it like, yeah, it's boring. There's nothing. Why I'm doing it? They are in their mind. They start judging their practice. oh, I tried to meditate, but I was thinking the whole time. So I'm not doing it. So that's again, we need self-compassion. It's normal. You are sitting there, it's normal you think the whole
Mm,
time. The mind is always thinking. It's not about not thinking, it's about noticing that you're thinking and trying to direct your mind to a body sensation or breathing. So it's not about not thinking. It's not about not losing your focus. Because if you start judging your meditation, you are done. You cannot continue, certainly, because you start saying, I'm a bad at that, so why I do it? There is nothing bad at it. Like if you go to the gym, would you kind of run so fast the first time? You might be doing a little thing because you didn't exercise. And meditation takes so much time. You are exercising these attention muscles that are extremely difficult. So you cannot expect that you started meditating and next day you are kind of a guru in meditation or a yogi. Uh, it's impossible. So just
mm,
having patience, having this thing, it's a practice that I do it and every day to help myself with no judgment, with openness, it helps to kind of continue in that. So there are
mm.
multiple, I think, elements that make people discontinue.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Definitely takes a lot of patience, which is probably something I lack, but that's okay. It reminds me of practicing like piano, for example, practicing a musical instrument. You know, you learn a new piece of music, you're not going to be good at it the first time, but yeah, it just takes time. Well, we're going to move on now to our open mic segment, which is your opportunity to talk about anything that you're passionate about. It doesn't really even have to be related to the topic if you don't want to. So the floor is yours.
I thank you. This is a nice opportunity. It will be related to what I'm talking about. As we talked a lot about mindfulness and compassion, we focus more on self compassion, but also compassion is something that we can use it towards others. So you can be compassionate towards somebody you love or even somebody you don't love. And that builds the skills of connecting with others. And more also, we can be compassionate towards animals. And it's something that is important to me. I remember being so young and being touched by suffering of animals. Today, I'm much older, but I still touched with suffering of animals. And there's so much disregard of the amount of animals suffer, but animals suffer. Uh, and it's unfortunate to say it's most of it because of us, the humans, because we put them in conditions that are extremely harmful, suffering, difficult. So cultivating this compassion towards animal will allow us, will save us as we save animals, because again, they are our partner in this planet. And if we destroy them, I don't think there will be much planet for us. So having this
Mm,
compassion, understanding that there are beings, there are sentient beings, as in Buddhism they say, and they have the right to exist fully, to be happy, to have their own life, uh, to do whatever they want to do. And if we don't understand them, doesn't mean we are allowed to do anything. And this human superiority that it's okay because we are human, we can do everything, I think lacks really understanding and compassion to animals. And if we build this compassion, we cultivate it, I don't think we will continue on the path we have started long time ago. We start to change because if we understand the suffering of an animal, we say, I should maybe do different and I should do better.
mm.
Yeah, that's maybe a subject that I'm very passionate about.
That's really interesting, and seeing how that has played into your studies of self compassion and towards others. You know, thinking about, well, how do I feel compassion towards, a bird? How do I feel compassion towards another human? Is it different? That's really interesting. Yeah, I hadn't really thought of it like that, to be honest. So that's fascinating. We're going to conclude our episode now. So if anybody listening wants to find out more about you and about your work, where should they go?
There are multiple places. I think the best, easiest thing is to Google my name
Mm-hmm.
and with either McGill or with mindfulness, because I have a Google page, Google Scholar page. I have my McGill Mindfulness Research Lab. web page. I have my clinical page. So I have multiple kind of connection. But I think the easiest way, if somebody Google my name with word like mindfulness or McGill or compassion, most likely they will go somewhere and it will lead them somewhere else. That's the easiest, I think, way.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Bassam, for
You're
being
welcome.
on the show today. I've definitely learnt a lot from you, and I hope that our audience has as well. So thank you to our audience for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks, Sarah.
You have been listening to Work in Progress, the Personal Productivity Science Insights podcast produced by the Life Management Science Labs. Listen to episodes from LMSL's 10 Life Management Perspectives on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or other podcasting apps on your smartphone. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps other people find it and us grow to bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website pp.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Joanna. Thanks for tuning in.